Hello everybody, can you hear me? Hello, good evening. I can see Arnav Apte. Hello Arnav. Shagufta, hello, good evening. I hope you all are doing good. Am I audible to all of you loud and clear? Okay, hi Chandan, Toshit, hello. How are you doing people? Okay, so as you can see, we are going to have a session on last lap to CAT 21 solving para-jumbles in no time. Am I being seen by all of you? Can you see me? I think there is some technical anomaly. All right, so without any further ado, let us begin the session today. Last lap to CAT 21 solving para-jumbles in no time. That's what it says. Okay, you can't see me now. Okay, fine. Am I visible to you now, guys? Okay. So what I'll do, I'll make myself invisible so that you can see the slide, and then I'll bring myself back to the picture. That's how we will run the show today. Okay. So this is going to be your last lap to CAT. I hope you people have prepared well, and I sincerely hope that you people go all guns blazing and you crack CAT. Not only should you crack CAT, you should split it wide open. I have full faith in you people, and BYJU'S Exam Prep, we out here, we are ready to go to the last mite to help you excel in CAT 21. All right. Okay, don't be a minimum guy says hi to me. I'm hiring you back. Don't be a minimum guy. Arnav. Yeah, okay, fine. So, all right. So, we are going to talk about a few very important concepts on para-jumbles, right? But before that, this is how we are scheduled today and for this week. Remember that we are running high voltage classes for all of you, and the classes will run till the 21st of November, and this is how we are going to be placed with you in the next upcoming days. Right, today you all are with me. We are doing solving para-jumbles in no time. I am Pradeep Sengupta, and I hope I am going live on both YouTube and the app, I believe. Okay, so all those who are joining me on YouTube, good evening. App guys, good evening to you too. So, and remember, we are going to give you the best of the best classes. We have tried our level best to keep you updated, to keep you posted with the latest, right? Our August intellectual capital, our faculty bench strength comprises Savitri ma'am, one of the best RC trainers I have ever witnessed. She is a treat to listen to. Please don't miss her classes. We have Vikas sir, we have Pranav sir, we have Gaurav sir, Gautam sir, Saral sir. So these people are going to make the sessions absolutely delicious for you, okay? So that it digests well and you understand the concepts absolutely clearly. So there is nothing to teach as such, but we are going to discuss a few very important concepts. There will be a brush up of the fundas, and along with that we are going to solve some real-time very good questions, so that when it comes to when you make a foray into the D-Day, when you finally enter your examination hall, you put your best foot forward and you go for the kill. So every day we are going to go live with you people at 7 p.m. Please register this date somewhere. We are going to go live at 7 p.m. every day, and it is going to be a celebration of 1 to 2 hours every day at 7 p.m. and these sessions are going to be unmissable, right? At least I would request all of you to attend the sessions. These are unmissable sessions. You cannot afford to miss any of the sessions, right? Just in case you have not done the previous classes with us, the concepts, suppose the concepts are not very clear, this is the time to iron out all the discrepancies if at all you have, right? You can go back and revise. You can come to our live session and revise the sessions with us so that we don't have any last minute hassles. We want you to be absolutely ready with your CAT. No matter what, you should excel. Okay, so you have to promise us that over here. So let us move to the session today. We are going to talk about the main objective why we are conducting this session. Okay, why this session at all we are conducting, right? So this session will help you understand the basics of para-jumbles, right? I am going to make myself invisible once again so that you can see the slides, right? You have to brush up. The idea is to make you people learn the basics from the beginning and some tricks to solve the MCQ questions and the theta based para-jumbles in absolutely less time. Why? Because para-jumble questions, the section, the VARC section, they will have around 6 to 7 odd para-jumble questions and the theta based questions, the odd one out questions. And these questions, you know that they don't carry any negative mark, right? So you are absolutely free to attempt all the questions, right? Take the maximum mileage out of these questions, all right? Just imagine a score of 5 to 6 plus 5 to 6 marks ka score, that will make a huge difference in your overall percentile. And that is the reason why I always ask my students to be absolutely spot on and be careful when you attempt the PJ questions, because you have nothing to lose. It's a no ball being bowled at you, right? You can hit a 6, you can hit a 4, you can take a single, you can take, you can run for 2 runs, but you cannot get out. So you have to improve your timing so that you get the maximum mileage of the ball that is being bowled to you. All right. With that being said, let us move ahead with the questions. Please let me know if you can see the slides properly. All right. Okay. So the primary question that baffles us is we take a lot of time in solving the PJ questions. Okay. Is it happening with you? Do you take a lot of time to solve the questions? Okay. Are you reading the lines and the sentences time and again to actually understand the gist of it? Right. So today we will discuss a few concepts, right? How to solve para-jumbles in less time. Remember, there is something called AHT, that is average handling time. So what is your average handling time per question? Today, keep a stopwatch ready with you people and let us solve the questions together, and we will see how soon we can answer all the questions. But before that, some of the basics which you need to understand in order to come good with the PJ questions. So how do we do that? Let us move ahead. Right? So we will quickly revise the concepts based on mandatory pairs. You remember we have done mandatory pair, how to ascertain mandatory pairs, how to check the pairs, the bonds, right? How do we do that? How do we sequence a sentence? How to find out the, sequence properly? And what exactly are we going to look at while ascertaining the sequence in the PJ questions? All right. So again, first thing first, back to basics. We are going to talk about proper nouns, the introductory sentences. Guys, Full name, part name. Okay, Gautam Das or Mr. Das, Michael Schumacher or just Schumacher, they are going to give you the introductory sentences. We must understand the concepts of nouns and pronouns. You remember, two follows one and it is not the other way around. So a pronoun will always follow a noun. That is the general funda which we must keep in mind. A pronoun will always follow a noun. So a pronoun comes after a proper noun. Okay. Remember, articles are of utmost importance. We place an article before a noun to make it definite. Sometimes it happens that when just a noun, it figures in a sentence and followed by a sentence, again we have the with that noun being present in the next sentence. We know that the can only be used when a noun has previously been introduced in a sentence. जब तक हम noun को introduce नहीं करेंगे, it cannot be referred back. Only it can be referred back with the help of an article. Okay, so the must be it must follow a noun which comes in the beginning. Okay, for example, I saw a boy standing across the road. The boy looked frail and hungry. So the boy will follow boy, which was mentioned earlier. So the plus noun, this combination. The demonstrative pronouns, the conjunctions, these are going to be the connectors, right? The midpoint theorem in geometry, the chest and the belly of the body, right? We have the conjunctions, like you can see, not only but also being present. Okay, these are known as correlative conjunctions. This, that, these, those, these are pronouns. They form the middle part of the body. Remember a para-jumble sentence. Let's understand the concept in this way. A human body, right? You have the head, you have the middle part of the body and the tail. So the middle part, the connectors, they will always come in between somewhere. Okay, the linking words, the transition words, for example, similarly, in the same fashion, they are going to connect one idea with the other. Okay, and there are some words which are going to create contradiction or concession, right? Like however. But with that being said, nonetheless, in spite of that, consequently, so these are going to be the words that will make transition in a sentence. We will try to understand all these concepts with the help of questions that I'm going to show you in some time now. All right? Okay. So I hope the things are clear. I hope you are enjoying the session. All right. So, and there are some more things which you must take note of. What are these? Right? Always remember, a para-jumble question will start with a broad topic, and along the journey, it will narrow down to the specifics. Okay? It will narrow down to the specifics. It is just like having a pyramid built like this, right? Broad first. Okay, and the pointer come at last, so it should come at last. Okay, and always remember this equation. Okay, the main idea and the supporting idea, it is important in RC, it is important in para-jumbles. All right, the passage or the ideas, they will either flow from main idea to supporting idea or supporting idea to main idea. So it is important to find out the flow. It is important to find out the current, which way the wind blows, what is the pattern, right? That is why chronology becomes very important, okay? The dates. Some para-jumbles will be based on chronology, earlier, later, years back, in the present, right? So we have to understand how to set right these time frames, okay? And the time frames can be, shown with the help of the tense pattern also. So if you understand how the tenses function in a sentence, the past tense, the present continuous tense, the future perfect tense. That will help you understand the chronology or the flow of the sentences. Is it flowing from, backward to forward or forward to backward? That is something which is absolutely, it becomes clear when you follow the tenses. Next comes the theme. What is the theme of what is the gist of the passage? Once you understand the theme, sequencing becomes easier. All right? Theme को पकड़ने की बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत पड़ेगी आपको. So the moment you catch hold of the theme, you understand which way the current, takes you. Important thing would be to find out what are the standalone sentences. Okay, the standalone sentences, the exclusive sentences, they don't bond, they stand tight, they stand independent. Okay, so the standalone sentences, generally they are the opening sentences, but hang on. Okay, generally they are the opening sentences, but they can also come as conclusion in very special cases. Okay, in very special cases, they can come to you as conclusions, right? All right. Am I visible to you? Do you want to ask me any questions so far? So far, so good? So far, so good? Yes? Okay, okay. Srinidhi says, yes, a lot of time. Hassan says, I took 4 to 5 minutes. Hassan, we will try to address these issues. 4 to 5 minutes. Normally you should not take more than a minute or a minute and a half to answer any PJ question. Okay, it's all about what is your understanding of the question, how well you have understood the passage. Okay, the better our understanding, the lesser time we are going to take. Okay, so the gist is important, the topic is important. You have to get into the topic, think what the PJ question is trying to communicate. Okay, think of the PJ question as somebody who is trying to talk to you. Okay, as if, and understand the body language, understand the inflections, understand the key difference between the sentences. Okay, how do we do that? We will try to find out in some time from now. All right, so we are going to understand these concepts, whatever we have discussed, with the help of some PJ questions. Okay, remember, I am not going to teach you the basics because you know the basics already. We will try to understand, given whatever we have learned so far, whatever has been our takeaway from the classes we have attended, how to apply the same knowledge while solving the PJ questions. किस तरीके से क्वेश्चन का मुखार फेंकेंगे, राइट? किस तरीके से हम absolutely in no time हम उसको solve कर सकते हैं. So can we look at a question, guys? Okay, this is a question in front of you. I will talk to you 30 seconds from now. You can key in the answer if you want to. Okay, let's run. Is the slide visible to you guys? Can you see the slide? Please talk to me. Because I am using a different medium to communicate with you. All right. Gokul, there is no such rule that positive will follow positive or negative will follow negative, you see, right? There is no such rule, So you have to understand what is your reading. What is your reading of the Para-Jumbles, okay? So positive, negative, we'll talk about it later, because a positive sentence can lead you to negative sentence using those conjunctions, contradictory conjunctions, right? I was not well, however, I went to attend the marriage party. Okay, one negative sentence, one positive sentence being, joined with the help of still. So this can happen. All right. Okay. So this is the question in front of you. Can we have the answers quickly, guys? Okay. Mahalakshmi says B is the option. Okay. What about the others? Let us see if BD. Okay, so I have got a very interesting combo. CABD. All right. The answer is CABD. Okay. Now understand the funda, right? We start the sentence by introducing what homology is. It translates the world of vague shapes into rigorous world of algebra. See algebra getting introduced over here. Algebra, a branch of mathematics. So see, introduces what homology is, what algebra is, a branch of mathematics that studies particular numerical structure symmetry. Fine. This takes you to A. So CA bonds well. Mathematicians study the properties of these algebraic structures. These algebraic structures, they have a reference in C, right? So CA is the choice. So in no time, and no option gives you the CA bond, no option gives you the CA pair. So we are going to stick with BCABD. Now, it was intentional to give you these questions with options, so that you get into the habit of actually looking at the question with options being given. So once you warm up to these kind of question patterns, then slowly I will take you to some questions. I will up the challenge where the options will not be there. So can we solve some questions based on options? Okay. So the answer was B, CABD, quite easily done, right? So D has to be the conclusion. It comes in many varieties, all of which connect with algebra. B and A is a pair because from algebra we are moving. They directly learn information. They indirectly learn information about the original topological shape of data. Okay. So CA was a mandatory pair. There was no need to actually read the sentence. Once you ascertain that CA was a pair, this should have been your obvious option, right? So first question was easy, isn't it? All right, Chandranath, these options are deliberate. When we move on to the next segment, you will not have options. All right, okay, because of options it gets easier. The idea is to get the confidence back so that when we attack the the para-jumbles without options, you actually have a fair idea how to actually go about those questions. What are the steps that are needed to be taken to tackle those questions? So a couple of questions with options, and then we will attack the questions without option. All right. Moving to the next one, guys. Here we go. Very quickly, can we look at the options? You have the options right over here. What is going to be the right option? In no time can we have the answer. Let me hide myself so that you can see the question. Inzara Begum says sir दिखाई नहीं दे रहा. Can you see now? Is the slide visible to you guys? Okay, one of you marked D, DBCA. All right. Tushar says D. All right. Now please look at the explanation. Of course, D is the introductory sentence. We talk about the caves of Ajanta are among the jewels in the crown of Buddhist art. Okay, even after extensive pillaging and destruction, right? D takes you to, we talk about caves, D introduces caves, and B carries on with the idea, right? The caves form kaityas or sanctuaries and viharas or monasteries heavily carved and decorated with fresco paintings that depicts the scene in the life of Buddha. Please pay attention to this word, life of Buddha. And see, look at A, Buddha experienced life in its rich variety. So the life which is mentioned in B, right, takes you to option A. So BA is a mandatory pair, isn't it? Similarly, DB is a mandatory pair. All right. Okay. So DBBA, the option was C, DBAC. This should have been the answer. I hope you got the idea as to how to look at the PJ questions. These were fairly easy ones, isn't it? So DB was a mandatory link, right? DB was a mandatory link, BA was a mandatory link, and the option that gives us the DB and the BA link was C. So there was no need to look at A, B and D, right? So I will keep myself away from the screen for some time so that you can see the slides, guys. All right. I hope this question was fairly understood. It was an easy question, so you could have done it hands down, right? In 15 seconds, you could have solved this question, right? So remember, you have to get the maximum mileage out of these questions. All right. And how do you do it? When you apply yourself, when you apply the logic that you have learned so far. Okay. Can we look at one more question? All right. You have the options. You have the question right in front of you. Let us see how are we placed with this question. Can we get this one right? "20 seconds and we are going to start the discussion." If you like the session, don't forget to share and subscribe our channel, guys. Okay, can we start very quickly? What is the option? Very quickly, please key in the answer. We've got the options coming through. D, 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 D. Okay. All right. Let me show you the answer, then we will start the discussion. All right. Let me show you the answer. The answer is D, and you got this one right. Most of you have keyed in the right option. It was D, not A, Vicky, right? It has to be D. Why? Look at the opening sentence. E is the opening sentence. It talks about Ricardo Hausmann, who is a Harvard economist. What does he suggest? He suggests that economic development is like a game of Scrabble. He compares economic development with a game of Scrabble. Now look at B. Goods and services are made by stringing together productive capabilities, inputs, technologies and tasks, just as words are made by putting letters together. Scrabble is a game of letters. You put them together to make words. Okay. So the parallel which was drawn in E finds life in B. So EB definitely is a mandatory pair. Right? What does it talk about? It talks about goods and services are made by stringing together productive capabilities. From B, we move to D. Why? Look at what D has to tell us. D says, countries with greater variety of capabilities can make more diverse and complex goods, just as Scrabble player who has more letters can generate more more and longer words. So more the economic resources, the better you are placed. So the more letters you have, the better the scrabbler is placed. So the parallel is being drawn continuously. So it is EBD. The only option that gives you the EBD combo is D. There is no need to look at any other option. So the answer should have been D. Okay. So you have to have an eye for fine tuning of the sentences. You have to have an eye for the transition that is happening in a sentence. All right, that is why you just don't read the sentences. What happens sometimes, we read the sentences but we don't get the hang of it, isn't it? We don't have any idea what we are reading. Okay, so focused reading is the key. Okay, try to find out the relationship. You have to act like a detective, you have to act like a sleuth. Try to find out what is the relation between A and B, how do we connect X with Y, and what is the reason why X and Y should be connected. Okay, the moment you find the bonding, you are on song, time for celebration. All right, so D should have been the answer because EBD was actually a beautiful pair being made. Okay, that was all about question 3. I hope you've understood, right? BD is a mandatory pair as well, of course. Rakshana Magesh, yes, BD is a mandatory pair. You're absolutely right, because we're talking about economic growth over here. Okay, so we did not have to go that far. When you figure out EBD present in D, mark D, that is the answer. Okay, end of story, end of discussion. Okay, that's how we are going to look at the questions, because the options are given right in front of you. They're glaring, they're looking at you. Okay, waiting to be picked by your wise and fine sense of judgment. Okay, all right, moving on. Okay, can we try to figure out the answer, the right answer to this question? We will start the discussion 20 seconds from now, guys. 20 seconds from now, okay? All right. So what is your take on this question? Kushal says B. All right, Kushal. Point taken. A, B, all right. Okay. Now, I call such question a chacha bhatija question. All right. A noun pronoun question. Right. The answer happens to be B, CABDEY. C introduces Trump and his campaign, okay, on two themes: nostalgia for the strong, whatever. It is not much. It is not much. Trump is campaigning on two themes. Most of you got this one right. It is B, guys. It is B. Why B? C talks about a proper noun, Trump, and A talks about it's not much. What is not much? Trump's campaign is not much. All right. So Trump is campaigning on two themes: nostalgia for the strong pre-pandemic economy. Whatever he's campaigning for, that's okay. Plus resentment over the outcome of the vote in 2020. He's not a happy man. Okay. He thinks he should not have lost, but he lost nonetheless. Okay. So Trump is not a happy man at all. So it's not much, but it is enough. What is enough? The campaigns. Enough to force DeSantis, the would-be Trump replacement, into Desperate stunts to prove himself. Trumpier than Trump. Trumpier is a word used for the Trump passionists, people who are crazy for Trump, right? A word, it's an expression used for political leaders to show that people are, for him, or even that man is up for him. He favors himself. Okay, handing out. Look at the word Trumpier. Handing out $5,000 rewards to cops who refuse vaccination, identifying himself with a state surgeon general who advises anti-vaxxers to trust their intuitions. Okay, this is what is being said about DeSantis. All right, but look at B. But nobody is Trumpier than Trump. Although DeSantis tries to be, Trumpier, but B says nobody is Trumpier than Trump. Trump is absolutely, Trumpier. Nobody is Trumpier than Trump. A narcissistic feeling, a feeling of self-pride. Okay? But nobody's, look at the contradiction. Although Santis is trying to be Trumpier, but nobody is Trumpier than Trump. So this conjunction was vital to establish a link between AB. So what do we find? We find there is, what is the concept? The concept is C, A, B, but nobody is Trumpier than Trump, followed by D, there is no Trumpism that's bigger than Trump. Okay, and now try to find out the trick is to establish the DE relationship. D talks about a movement, not a man. Look at E. In this case, though it is about a man, not a movement, so E creates a small caveat. Okay, so that joins D and E. D and E. DE link is present in B. DE link is present in C. DE link is also present in D. So this is, the majority of the options have taken the DE link, but the CA link was equally important. Okay, the CA link was equally important. So the CA link and the DA link gives you B as the answer choice. Okay, did you find it easy? Chandan says 1 minute 20 seconds. Okay. We will try to figure this out within 1 minute, okay? Or a minute and 10 seconds. A minute and a half is absolutely fantastic speed. So 1 minute 20 seconds is absolutely fantastic, Chandan. If you maintain this speed, and remember, precision and being able to drive home the logic are the two important things. Speed and logic, right? 100 की स्पीड में गाड़ी भी चलानी है और साथ में पेप्सी भी पीना है. ओके, सिर्फ पेप्सी पिएंगे तो गाड़ी लड़ जाएगी, दोनों करना है. ओके, सो यू हैव टू मेंटेन दैट equilibrium, right? Driving at 100 miles an hour and drinking Pepsi, enjoying Pepsi. Okay, this is what para-jumble questions are all about. Rishabh, please be patient. Very soon you will see questions without options. All right? Okay. Now, as if your prayers have been answered, okay? Yes, Vicky is, sending me smiley emojis. Rishabh, okay, God bless you. All right. Always remember, whatever you do in life, God says bless you, right? So be careful what you're asking for, okay? Hey Bhagwan, मुझे आइसक्रीम दे दो, bless you, right? अरे पैराजम्बल्स मुझसे हो नहीं रहे हैं, bless you. अरे पैराजम्बल्स मुझसे हो रहे हैं, bless you. So be positive, okay, and take the blessings from God. That's how it goes. All right. So whatever you think, whatever you want for yourself, God always says bless you. I'm going to get 7 out of 7 para-jumbles right. God will say bless you. Okay. So let us hit this one. Let me see how many of you can give me the right option, the right answer, the right combo. All right. Let us get this question sorted. Right. Let's get going, guys. Chandan, as they say, you want some, you get some. This is what John Cena says. All right. So you need blessings. Keep on asking for it. Keep asking for it. Okay. All right. So can we solve this question? Samir says ACBD. All right. Start point A. Okay. 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 Manoj Tahir. तुम लोग कुछ ज्यादा जल्दी में नहीं आ गए हो, right? Please take time. Don't rush into the conclusions. Please follow what I'm going to tell you now. If you know that your answers are going to be right, hang on, double check it. Okay? Please don't rush. Double check it. It's always good to double check your options. All right. Most of you have said A is the introductory sentence. Now let us talk about the question now. All right. Please, right? Let us travel together. On your marks, get set, go. Let's start running, guys. Right? A says the hunting and gathering epoch in which the early hominins were produced a period of greater longevity and greater health than in almost any other time before or since, ultimately teaching them an important lesson. And what is this lesson that we are talking about? Stay in one place and grow crops whose surplus could be stored. Okay, so something is teaching somebody to stay in one place, grow crops, consume what is needed, and store the surplus. Make provisions for future. B says, but despite these differences, what kind of differences does B talk about? Okay. C says hardwired to eat. Hardwired. Okay. When you have a mental plan ready, when the plan sinks in your subconscious and you stick to the plan, you're not ready to budge, right? And the plan is right there. You're hardwired. Okay. That is your mental setup. Hardwired to eat what we can when we can. They had diets. Who had diets that differed from place to place? Some had diets high in fat and protein, and some had diets in which carbohydrates dominated. All right, fine. So we are talking about different, food habit and what constitutes the diet. What constitutes the diet? Okay. What was the diet rich in? All right. D talks about with more nutrients and more advanced methods of gathering and cooking food, the early hominins already sizable brains grew bigger. These hominins sizable brain grew bigger. Now, A talks about the early hominins. D talks about the early hominins. But D talks about food being gathered. A talks about food being grown and stored. So don't you think we must move from being food gatherer to food producer? This should be the transition. Look, D talks about food being gathered and A talks about food being produced. All right. So the answer was DCBA. Please try to understand. Why D? Why D is the introductory sentence? Because it says with more nutrients and more advanced method of gathering, the early hominins brain grew bigger. Brains grew bigger. Look at C, hardwired, right? Something which you think and it becomes a part of your timetable, it becomes a part of your schedule. Okay, hardwired. Why? When the brain starts thinking, you start making plans, and when you stick to the plan, it sinks in your subconscious. Okay, and that plan becomes hardwired. All right, hardwired. We can what we can when we can about food, what we can eat, when we can eat. They had diets that differed from place to place. Okay, these differences, right? Look at the connect. Don't you think C and B are lovebirds? They are bonding. C and B is a mandatory pair. All right, and then lastly, finally, when all these things have happened, then you will talk about growing crops and storing them. All right. So, what is the transition? What is the movement? The movement should be from being a food gatherer to finally being a food producer. Hence, the answer should have been DCBA. Is that understood? Right? This is what you need to figure out. Do not be in a hurry, and these questions should not be attempted irresponsibly. Okay, VA, RC, you stand to lose marks. Okay, negative marking aa jayega usme, isn't it? Right? Para-jumbles and theta based questions, take the maximum mileage. I'm telling you, take the maximum out of it. Okay, a period of time, Gokul, epoch. Okay. Okay. I hope was this question easy? Not at all. Was it doable? Yes, it was doable. Right? All you needed to do was to apply yourself and put in some thinking. Okay? Please put your thinking caps on and start arranging the sequences here and there. How A is different from B, or how X is similar to Y. Okay, these things you need to think of all these, nuances, the subtle nuances, and then go for the kill. Okay, we cannot afford to make a fool of ourselves when we attempt such questions in CAT, guys. Okay, okay, so still in journey. Can we move? Can we travel? The opening was critical, Rishabh. It was critical, but it was doable. Okay, that is what CAT is all about. You will be asking for a 1 crore salary. How? If the journey is not worth the pain, you cannot have a good story. Right? You will have your own story in the times to come. Okay? And be ready to tell your own story. Be ready to tell your juniors how you confronted and dealt with the PJ questions. What was your story of CAT preparation? We need your stories. Okay, we need your stories. Everyone should have his own story. 97 percentile, 98 percentile, 99 percentile, 100 percentile. Gods are not coming down on earth to score those percentiles. You will score it, guys. Okay, remember, you have to be logical. Common sense is not commonly present in common people. That's why people are common. Bring in some common sense and you will get the answers hands down. All right? Okay. Dell says born ready. Okay, that's the spirit. I like it, Dell. All right. With that spirit, let's be spirited enough to look at this question. Let us solve this question, guys. Keep a stopwatch ready and see and keep a count. All right. Please join our Telegram group. You're going to get all the latest information that you require about CAT and the other management exams. All right? The entrance exams. Please join our Telegram group, guys. All right. All for you, Shagufta. It is for you people, right? If one line of motivation helps you, so be it, because God says bless you. Okay. All right, are we ready with the options? How was it? Tricky, moderate, difficult? How was it? Okay, Rishabh says DBCA. Fine, Rishabh. BADC. Okay. All right, all right, all right. Okay. Let us now attack the question. Let's read A. A says, having spent quite a bit of time in the US over the years, I felt as if I understood intellectually how this might happen. How this might happen. Okay? All right. Something is going to happen. There's a plausibility. Okay? B says, in the US after all, none of these things is very far from the surface. What? Look at the hyphen. Unlike the English class system, endless and subtle in its hold, America wears its complexities for all to see, projecting what the complexities to the world in an endless diet of film and music. Okay, on Netflix, YouTube, and Amazon Prime. All right. So the programs on these Netflix, YouTube, and Amazon Prime, on these platforms, America is being portrayed with all its complexities. All right. Okay. C says, if any one of these things happens to be a particular passion, seeing how views might harden is easy. All right. D says, you don't have to live in the US to know that it is a land of wealth and poverty, opportunity and prejudice, right? Freedom and mass incarceration. And incarceration means imprisonment. Okay? It means imprisonment. Now, look at the juxtaposition of the two extremes. Wealth and poverty, opportunity and prejudice, mass incarceration and freedom. So, if one of these things, if you look at D and if you look at A says, having spent quite a bit of time in the US over the years, I find as if I understood intellectually how this might happen. Okay? I thought I would know. But D talks about something else. C says, one of these things. Which things? This. Wealth and poverty, opportunity, prejudice, freedom and mass incarceration. So, you can say that D, C is a pair. Now, let me show you the answer. Okay? It's ADCB. How many of you got this one right? Okay. A was a standalone sentence. It was a very generic sentence. And since it was a standalone sentence, it should be kept right in the beginning. Okay. DC. Look at B. After all, therefore, in the end, this should have been the end of the para-jumble. After all, आगे पढ़ने की जरूरत है, पढ़ सकते हो. After all, therefore, in the end, right? It should come in the end. B should have been the concluding sentence. That takes us to ADCB, guys. That should have been the option. Okay? After all, in words को miss नहीं कर सकते हैं. You can't afford to miss these expressions. They are subtle and you need to understand them. The functionality of these expressions. All right? Okay. So the answer was ADCB. It was a bit tricky. I would not say it was difficult. Tricky, yes. Okay. But a little application of mind, sense and sensibilities would have got you the option. All right? So this was all about question 6. Right? अभी पार्टी बाकी है, राइट? चलिए, one more. Mahima, okay, guys, hold on. Let me take you back to the question that we were discussing. Yes, having spent this, your question was, Mahima, but sir, A has this in it, so can it start? Yes, depending on how the other options are placed. Okay, had it been a different situation, we would have dealt with this option in a different way. But over here, you see, DC was a pair, right? And B has after all, so it had to be the ultimate sentence, the end sentence. So where would you place A? It has to come in the beginning. Standalone sentence in the beginning. Okay, this is what the explanation is, right? Otherwise, where will you place A? DC is already there. B is the final one. So A has to be placed somewhere, right? So it is a standalone sentence. It does not combine with any option, right? There is no bonding with A. So A has to come standalone sentence in the beginning. Although we have this might happen, this expression is there, but we do not know what is happening, right? Of course, the happenings that we come to know later on, that is happening in America, that is happening in UK. Okay, since it is a standalone sentence, we are going to put it at first. Rishabh, delay. Yes, there was a bit of a technical glitch, Rishabh. So I had to start a couple of minutes late. Okay, but then I will do the catching up. Don't you worry. All right. Okay. Can we look at this one, please? Adcb. Okay, Nishant. He was very quick to answer this. Okay. We will start talking right after 15 seconds, guys. All right. So can we have the answers now? If you look at A, it talks about something called psi diversity. Psi, psychic related to mind, diversity, having diverse choices or being diverse, okay, in so many ways, okay. Psi diversity rejects the claim that mental states can be cleanly and predictably mapped onto the brain. That's what it says. B says that isn't to deny the reality of difference, but rather to situate this reality as part of an unfolding social and historical process. D says, indeed, psi diversity holds that the mind and human nature are not unitary things, but are profoundly embedded and even constituted by the society and context in which they appear. D says, instead, it augments the valuable work of neurodiversity and by demonstrating that mental processes and the way we understand them changed and evolved through history. Okay, quite a few answers are coming through. There's a flood of answers. All right. So let me show you the option first of all, and then we will discuss the question at length. It is ADCB. Okay. A introduces psi diversity. Look at the pronoun present in D. So AD is a mandatory pair. All right. Look at C. Indeed, psi diversity holds that mind and human nature are not unitary. They are not the same. They are not one. Okay. If they are not one, then we have to talk about the difference of it. Okay. Then we have to talk about the difference of it. So, B must follow C. So ADCB was the answer. There was no need to spend so much of time on this question. Okay, ADBC, most of you got it right. Congratulations. Okay, this was one easy question, right, which we could have actually, done hands down. इसमें गलत होने का सवाल ही पैदा नहीं होता, right? आपके सामने clues हैं. Just pick up the clues, join the dots, and move on to the next question. Okay, so 7 was done quite easily. Yes, Nandita, it is ADCB. It is ADCB, dear, not ADBC. Okay, तुम B और C और B के फेर में फंस गए, right? It should be CB. All right, uste pere chho. I'm speaking in Bengali. All right, next question. All right, please look at this question very carefully, guys. If you don't have any clue, still go for it. All you're going to score is what? A 0, which is a positive integer. It is going to be an add-on to your percentile. All right? Please don't leave any question. Go for the kill. Okay. "20 seconds and then we'll start the discussion. Mahalakshmi, you said, what did you key in? A, B, D, C. All right. Okay. This question is a bit difficult. Okay, so if you're getting it wrong, it's okay. When I looked at this question, you and I, both of us, I found it a bit tricky. When I was solving this question, I found it a bit tricky. Okay, the option is CDAB, guys, and you have every right to question how on earth can a sentence which begins with "so" becomes an introductory sentence? Right? Now listen to me very carefully. There will be some questions which are going to be exceptions, which will not fall under the general set of rules. With those kind of questions, you have to be absolutely careful about. All right? How can a sentence starting with "so" give us the introductory sentence? If you have this question playing at the back of your mind, you are not wrong. Listen to the discussion now. A looks to be an introductory sentence. A looks to give us a start. Okay? Any statement that is true by its own light, true from any perspective, or universal. Any statement that is true is by its own light, true from any perspective, or universal. Okay, fine. So we are talking about the statement being true and universally accepted. All right. B says, this means it would be irrational for you to deny that the US police A-B no connection. Isn't it? So you will connect D with C, if that was going on in your mind. Now listen, right? Probably this has been taken from an essay, right? And this paragraph was a part of, something that we could link to, in the previous paragraph. Probably something was said in the previous paragraph, and this paragraph comes to us as a, as what should I say, as an attachment or as a justification. All right. So if you got this one wrong, no problem at all. Okay. So listen to the explanation. It says, so an emphasis on the truth as a universal authority will only further bifurcate the society. When you emphasize on truth, okay? When you emphasize on truth, it divides the society. It bifurcates the society because such attitude, what attitude? When you emphasize on truth, what happens? What is the implication? It carries with them anti-humanist sentiment. Okay, how is the question? That are incompatible with genuinely egalitarian social relationship. So emphasis on the truth, right, without any reason, right, it is not actually compatible when we talk about egalitarian society. D gives you an example. If C is the main idea, D is the supporting idea. For example, if I claim that democracy requires abolishing the US police system, why would you abolish the US police system? Just because it is true that police system is corrupt institute. Now, if this is the police system, right, and this is the US police system, okay, this falls under the bigger set police system, and US police system is a graph of the police system. All right, what happens? This presupposes, right, an idea which you have already assumed, a standard for what counts as evidence in favor of systematic corruption on what makes that claim true. What is the claim? Claim is emphasizing on the truth. Basis that that police system is corrupt, you abolish the US police system. This is, this comes with the preconceived idea. This claim is being talked about in A, any statement that is true by its own light, true from any perspective or universal. Any statement is true from any perspective or universal. If this is true, then this means refers to A. That is why AB is a mandatory pair and CD again is a mandatory pair. Okay, this was the explanation, right? This was how the para-jumble, this question would have flown, right? This was how it should have been sequenced. Difficult, I agree it was difficult, right? Tumhare upar hai, if you want to attempt it, well and good. If not, right, but please attempt it. Why to let it go? Because anyways you're going to score, or you're going to get no marks. At least tumko -1/3 se bache rahoge tum, isn't it? So this is how question 8 should have been solved. All right, quickly let's move on to the next segment. This was all about the para-jumble questions, guys. I hope you have understood whatever I had to discuss with you people, the subtle nuances, the inflections and the rules, okay? And we solved a few para-jumble questions and most of you came up with the right answers. That was absolutely fantastic. Now, how do we look at the odd one out questions, okay? Now, what is the basic difference? The difference is when we talk about the PJ questions, right, we look for mandatory pairs. Whereas we just do the opposite when it comes to the odd one out questions, we eliminate the mandatory pairs, right? How do we do that? Let us understand this with the help of an example, okay? Let us look at this question, guys. Okay, we are going to do this one together, all right? What does this question tell us? Read A. But then he lost interest in his plan and left the lorries to rot, quite incapable of going anywhere but full of their consignment of jewels. What does B tell you? We are going pretty fast and after us there will just be the same monotonous uniformity. C tells us the trucks were dusty and neglected, their tires rotting and flat and sinking into the ground, but when the two ladies pulled back a tarpaulin, they found that the trucks were laden with gems and precious stones and pearls and gold coins. D says the Nizam apparently lived in fear of either a revolution or an Indian takeover of his state and had equipped the lorries so that he could get some of his wealth out of the country at short notice if the need came. And D tells us the guards did little to protect the riches in the lorries. What really protected them, thought Iris, was the aura of a ruler. Now, if you give it a closer look, okay, Prashant, we will try to better ourselves and come back stronger next time. Apologies if the interface is not so good. Okay, all right. So we get the first answer. One of you say B, the others are saying, okay, B, D. All right. All right. So here we go. I hope you people are with me. At least you can hear me properly and you are able to listen to my discussion. I know the background is not, okay, fine. I concede that the background, you don't like the background. We will do something about it later. Okay. But as long as the questions are concerned, I hope you people are with me and we are talking and discussing. Yes? All right. A talks about, but then he lost interest. Who might have lost interest? The Nizam. Okay. If you look at A, we are talking about jewelry and consignment and lorries. C talks about trucks, precious stones, pearls and gold coins. D talks about Nizam. D talks about lorries, okay, and wealth. E talks about the guards did little to protect the riches, again, riches in the lorries. So either the lorries or the wealth or the trucks, these are present in A, C, D, E. Look at B. We are going pretty fast and after us, there will just be the same monotonous uniformity. This one is the odd one out for two reasons. The presence of lorries and wealth in all the options, and the rest of the options are being spoken in the third person. He lost, the trucks, the Nizam, the guards. But look at B, we are speaking in the first person. We are going pretty fast and after us there will be so on and so forth. So this is the major difference. Whereas all the options can come together and form a coherent paragraph, B is the odd one out. Hence the option was B. Most of you got this one right. Congratulations. Most of you got this one right. Okay. So this question was absolutely well done. Fantastic. Kudos. Okay. Congratulations. Are we ready for the next challenge, guys? Here we go. "20 seconds and then we will try to figure out the answers. Rishabh, which reason did you find illogical? If you could elaborate a bit. Okay, we'll talk about that later. Let us focus on this question. Nandita comes up with the answer. She says B. Wonderful answer. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, let us see how this question pans out. Okay, A, B, C, D, E, 5 questions. A says, in those days, there was nothing wrong and your mother took you for many hospital examinations. Nowadays, even under the doctor's instruction to have an examination, you repeatedly procrastinate, you delay deliberately. Okay, you don't want to go because now you're grown up. B says, there is a feeling of not being able to breathe and you are anxious that you will not be able to last until you can take your next breath. All right. Very foreboding, it's quite eerie, right? It smells of death, it smells of mortal danger. C talks about it is as if you're falling into an abyss. This sensation of falling was often present in dreams during childhood, and you would wake in fright, drenched in perspiration. D says you just walked out of their shadows, stopped making up absurdities and fantasies, and are now in a vast emptiness and tranquility. Okay, it's quite abstract, talking about treading on an unknown path. E says your fear of death arises when you are mentally and physically frail. What option should we stick to? Which option should we choose? Let us see the option. The answer is D. D was the odd one out. And you know why? Let us understand. Yaar, dekho, if you look at E, what does it talk about? It talks about fear of death arises when you are mentally and physically frail. Okay? So when you are mentally and physically weak, frail means weak, then the fear of death arises. And when that fear of death arises, what happens? What happens? There is a feeling of not being able to breathe, and you are anxious that you will not be able to last. Okay? Smells death until you can take your next breath. So don't you think E and B is a mandatory pair? If we look at C, C talks about dreams during childhood. When you were young, when you were small, you would wake in fright, drenched in perspiration. In those days, this expression present in A, it actually connects to your childhood. So C and A is definitely a pair. What is not is D. It talks about shadows, it talks about making up absurdities and fantasies, it talks about vast emptiness and tranquility, which is actually not connected with any of these options discussed. So D should have been the answer choice, guys. Okay, I hope most of you got this one right. Right? It talks about mental peace. It also talks about stopped making up absurdities and fantasies, and you are now in a vast emptiness and tranquility. Yes, it talks about some kind of peacefulness, as if people have found their mental equilibrium. Okay, but it is not going with the tone of the rest of the sentences in this, para-jumble question. That is why D should have been the answer. Okay, so question 10 was an easy one. Quite easily done. Let us move on quickly to the next question, guys. Okay, this one looks lengthy, but let us see if we can figure out the right option. And please read very carefully. Can we quickly have the options now? Answers. Let us start the discussion, guys. A says, did that generous and unspoiled garden that fed Adam and Eve invoke for its earliest storytellers a misty, hagiographic cultural recollection of the relative freedom and effortlessness of pre-agricultural life? Okay? ध्यान से देखो विकी, आरसी नहीं है. It is an odd one out question. right? Why are you so frightened of RCs? Okay, don't be frightened of RCs. It is not an RC. उसी से number आएगा भाई. Okay, fine. So A talks about unspoiled garden that fed Adam and Eve, right? So we're talking about garden, and we're also talking about pre-agricultural life. Okay. Look at B. It was time when nomadic livelihoods were transitioning towards increasing sedentism at first in strategic and flexible stops and starts, but ultimately culminating in complete dependence upon fixed field agriculture supporting urban centers. What are we talking about? We are talking about sedentism. We are talking about strategic and flexible stops and starts, ultimately culminating in complete dependence upon fixed field agriculture and urban centers. Okay, it smells of city life. C says they can be inspired or inflected by ideas and even reaching back many millennia, even as they reflect and edify or legitimate changing priorities, practices, power structures, and beliefs. All right. D talks about myths and legends. Always rework older established narratives, motives, and themes, tapping into what's perceived as, what's seen as timeless wisdom or knowledge. If you look at C, they, it talks about myths and legends. So D and C, they are connected, they form a pair. All right. Look at E. Much as several elements in the biblical flood flood story long predate the Old Testament, it's possible that the Genesis creation story also contains fragments and strands of cultural inheritance that figured large in the lives of the peoples who had inhabited the forest and shifting riverine grasslands of the eastern Mediterranean region during the earlier millennia of the Holocene. Right? If you closely look at the options, guys, right, you will see that, right, what does C talk about? Look at this line in C. Reaching back many millennia, going several thousand years back, okay, during the biblical flood. Don't you think C and E has a connection? Right? And towards the end, it talks about forest and shifting riverine grasslands in the eastern Mediterranean region. They are beautiful grasslands. Okay, that takes us to A. Did that generous and unspoiled garden, the grasslands that is being mentioned, that is mentioned in E, that fed Adam and Eve invoke for its earliest storytellers. So it's about legends, it's about myths, it's about pre-agricultural life. What the passage is not about is actually B, because we talk about urban center, we talked about sedentism. You stop at a place, you plan your food, you do, agricultural practices, and you start leading, a sedentary life. Okay, and you stop roaming around. Whereas the rest of the options, they talked about legends and myths and, the other, beautiful concepts. The life in the pre-agricultural era. B talks about entirely different concept, and that is why B should have been the option. Payal got it right, Nandita got it right, Swapnaj Patil, D. Now I think you know why B should have been the answer, Swapnaj. Okay, B was the answer for this question. So you see, if you read properly, if you catch the tone of the passage and one odd word, look for the keywords, right? The smart words and phrases that will help you differentiate X from Y. Why B should have been the option? Why not D? You have the answer right in front of you. Okay? So, with that being said, let us move to our next question. Right? It is it is an easy read. Right? I'm giving you the hint. It is easy, not as complex as the previous one, and you should get it hands down. Now I think Vicky, you know why B should not have been the answer, guy. I'm coming to this question, Shreyash, right? I will just discuss this question. Srish, I'm so sorry. Srish Iyer. Okay. We will keep that in mind, Rishabh. Thank you for bringing it to my notice. Thank you so much. I'll keep that in. I'll consider it. All right. This question, what is the answer, guys? What does A tell us? What does A tell us? A tells us, as that name suggests, the theory postulates the existence of dark matter, a mysterious substance that, according to the theorist, comprises the bulk of the matter in universe. B says there are competing cosmological theories and not all of them contain dark matter. C says it's widely embraced. D says the standard theory of cosmology is called the lambda cold dark matter model, right? And E says every cosmologist working today was educated in the standard model tradition and virtually all of them take the existence of dark matter for granted. Okay, so how are we going to figure this one out? Tushar comes up with the answer C. It is an odd one out question, guys. Please don't give me the combination. I just want the option that gives you the odd sentence, please. All right. Okay. Fine. Here we go. First of all, let me show you the answer. Okay. B, 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 C, B, C, B, C. All right. The answer is B. Why B? Now please understand. Look at D. D talks about the standard theory of cosmology called the lambda cold dark matter model. Okay? The standard theory. Now this should take you to E. Now look at E. Every cosmologist working today was educated in the standard model tradition. In the standard model tradition. And virtually all of them, all the cosmologists, take the existence of dark matter for granted. For granted means they believe that dark matter exists. Okay? And this is what the standard theory is all about. The standard theory of cosmology is called the lambda cold dark matter. The lambda cold dark matter, the definition, as the name suggests, the theory postulates, it brings home the point, the existence of dark matter. What is dark matter? A mysterious substance that comprises the bulk of the matter in the universe. And this theory is widely accepted, like people believe in dark matter. What does not go with the flow is B, there are competing cosmological theory and not all of them contain dark matter. This talks against dark matter. This talks about, this opposes dark matter. So B is in contrast with the other options. Hence B should have been the answer choice, guys. All right. So this was all about para-jumble questions, odd one out questions. I hope you have actually followed whatever was there to discuss with you people. All right. So this is something which I thought you should know. And now that we have discussed everything that was needed to be discussed in para-jumbles, I hope you will do good. Rishabh says, shouldn't it be CE? CE. C actually should be the ultimate sentence, the contradictory sentence, guys. Okay. what is widely accepted? That dark matter exists. Okay, this is widely accepted. Okay, that is why C should come at last. But what was the moot point? The moot point was B should not have been the, this was the odd one out. Okay, so with that being said, please understand, right? Whenever you are solving the para-jumble questions, there is no need to go back to the sentences time and again. Okay, you read once, understand the nuance, understand the essence, and then try to fix the mandatory pairs, right? Start pairing, start sequencing. All right, and please take these questions very seriously. Theta questions are meant to be taken absolutely seriously, because this is going to create a huge impact on your overall performance in the examination. You just can't afford to take this area lightly. I have seen many of our students, they actually don't take theta based questions seriously. You should take them seriously if you want that extra mark that will bring about a paradigm shift in your overall percentile. All right, please don't miss the bullock cart. This is going to be a make or breaks component of your VARC part. All right, one of you asked me this question, sir, will you be conducting RC sessions like this? Yes, in fact, the good news is tomorrow we are coming up with the RC session, and Savitri ma'am, one of the best VARC trainer in India, is going to take up that session with you. I immensely like her sessions, and you listen to her and I think you will be able to get all the RC questions fine, and she will fine tune your concepts. Okay, don't miss the session tomorrow by Savitri ma'am. And remember, please attend all the sessions every day at 7 p.m. साथ में चाय पियेंगे हम लोग, and we will discuss all the nitty-gritties of VARC, logical reasoning, data interpretation, and quantitative aptitude. Okay, so with that being said, we come to the end of today's session. I hope you have enjoyed the session today. Don't forget to subscribe the channel, share and like it with your friends. See you tomorrow once again at 7 p.m. Until then, goodbye, stay blessed और para-jumbles करते रहो. All right, good night all of you.